Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bethpage Village Restoration. My name is Patrick Mantle. I'm the commander of the Huntington Militia. I'm also joined here by the 3rd New York Regiment Long Island Companies. They will be demonstrating musket drill and linear tactics for you this morning. They are all carrying flintlock smoothbore muskets, very similar to this one right here. This is the Shortland pattern English musket, also known as the Brown Bess. Some of them are carrying the French model muskets. If you're carrying a French model musket, please show. French musket, yes. If you're carrying a French musket, step forward. Just a step forward. Some of them are also carrying the French model musket, which is a little bit different. It is a smaller caliber. This is a 75 caliber weapon. That means that the bore is 3/4 of an inch in diameter. The French musket is a 69 caliber, so 69/100th of an inch in diameter. A little bit longer, a little bit more accurate, a little bit heavier, but a better weapon because of its ease to clean. It's got barrel bands, so you can easily take off the barrel to clean it. The Brown Bess, though, has these little annoying pins, and that's how you take the barrel off. Very, very important to clean your musket because when you fire it, the black powder leaves what's called fouling, which is corrosive and it will eat away at the metal if you don't clean it. So these soldiers would actually spend 4 hours a day after they fire in order to clean it, maybe even the entire day. This was your lifeline. If your musket was not clean and it wasn't properly working properly, you'll be in a lot of trouble in the heat of battle.
Haste! By the right about, wheel! Sound of march! Trail your highlight!
Go through the loading procedure. And there you go. A good musketman can get off 3 shots in a minute. Now, of course, they weren't firing that fast in battle because you always had to wait for your commander to give the order to fire. They all fired together in line. It's called a volley. So you're like a giant shotgun raining lead on the enemy. And as I said, these are smoothbore weapons. They're not like a modern rifle. It's like a hollow tube like a shotgun. The musket ball literally bounces down and out of the barrel. So it's really not going to hit what you're aiming at. So the idea is that they all fire together so you have a better chance of hitting your enemy. You're not picking off and saying, I'm killing you on the other side of the field. That's murder. That's not how gentlemen fight. Gentlemen fight with these smoothbore weapons in line facing the enemy. If there's trees, if there's a fence, you can take cover behind those. But in order to be fast with loading these, you have to be standing up in full view of the enemy. We're gonna go through prime and load. Oh, you loaded already?
To the front.
So.
Slope your fire.
Sir, they're dry fire. They went through the motions. But
Okay. So, in order to load the musket, they were given the command to prime and load, and they would have to know all these steps. Starting up at the shoulder, they will then bring their musket to their chest and cock back the cock, because it kind of looks like a rooster's head, to half cock. You always hear the expression, don't go off half cocked, comes from the musket. I can put the entire weight on the musket on the trigger, it's not going to go off, because you don't want to go off half cocked. This is the safety position to safely load the musket, ready to be fired. You're going to slap your cartridge box. This is where you keep all your ammunition. Everyone has these paper cartridges or cartouches that has enough powder and also the bullet for 1 shot, 1 round each. These do not have musket balls. They don't have bullets in them. They're just blanks. They just have the powder. You then use your 2 opposing teeth to rip the paper cartridge. You had to have 2 opposing teeth in order to do this. And so in the 18th century, sometimes dental hygiene wasn't the best. So if you didn't have those 2 opposing teeth, you went into the artillery.
Prime and load!
You'll pour a little bit of powder in the pan right here. See there? That little dish right there is called the pan.
Yeah. That one? Yeah. And then
so
push it in.
So the idea is when this cock, which is holding a piece of flint, hits this is called the steel or the hammer. It's going to create sparks going into the pan, igniting the gunpowder, sending a jet of fire through that little hole there. You see that little hole there on the musket? That's called the touch hole. It's going to go through the hole there, ignite the powder, and send the musket ball flying out.
Fire! Prime and load!
So once you've done that, you close over the hammer and then cast the musket about like this. As I said, you have to be standing up doing this because it is a muzzle loader. You then pour the powder down the muzzle. The musket ball would also be right here in the paper, and the paper and the musket ball go down together, and the paper acts as the wadding to keep the musket barrel down there, because if you up on the musket, the musket ball will fall out of the barrel.
Present! Fire!
You then have to use your ramrod and ram the musket ball down to the bottom of the barrel. Because if you don't, if the musket ball is in the barrel anywhere and not seated up against the powder down here by the breech, this becomes a pipe bomb and it'll explode in your face and ruin your whole day. You also have to return your ramrod, because if you stick it in the ground like many soldiers did in the American Civil War and go somewhere else, you can't reload. And then some soldiers were nervous and they left their ramrods in their barrels and they shot it at the enemy, making a nice shish kebab on the other side, but you can't reload. Very, very important to return your ramrod or you won't be able to load, and this just becomes a 9-pound club. Now the muskets are loaded, and as you saw, they go back up to the shoulder to let everyone know we are ready to fire. Because again, they all fire at the same time. Now watch the loading procedure. They're going back to half-cocked. They're making sure their pants are open. They're ripping the cartridges with their teeth, pouring a little bit in the pan, and casting the musket about, pouring the rest of the powder down the barrel. We are not using ramrods because with reenacting today, we don't want someone to accidentally leave their ramrod in their barrel, and we don't want anything to be pushed down the barrel as well.
Hit the column! To the front! Step! Step!
Now they're going to show you a little bit of field maneuvering, and hopefully they'll also fire it as well. Now, as I said, you would have to go through those steps to load the musket every 20 seconds.
To line! 5 sections to the front! March! Right about! Wheel!
Now they're also maneuvering in what's called close order, while the man next to you is almost touching each other. You basically just only have an elbow's length distance.
Present! Fire! Shoulder!
See, a lot of them are going off. You have a small explosion here and the larger explosion through the barrel. It's like kind of like a kaboom. So sometimes you can have what's called a hang fire, where you have the explosion here at the pan, and it takes a second or so before the musket actually goes off. So that's why extreme discipline is needed to be firing the musket. So if you could go click and your musket not go off, but then 2 seconds later your musket's going off. So if you go like this and your musket hasn't gone off, it might go off and then shoot the person next to you. So a lot of discipline is needed when using the musket. A lot of things, as I said before, you have to clean these muskets after you fire because of all the fouling and whatnot. You also make sure that they are well tuned and they're working properly. A lot of things can go wrong with these muskets. It's all dependent on this piece of flint. As I said, these are flint locks. It uses a piece of flint in order to create the spark to ignite the musket. If this flint is not sharp, it's not going to create sparks.
Run! Up! Cover!
Now they demonstrated a bayonet charge. Now as you saw, they did not run at you. They marched at cadence towards you. You want to arrive at the enemy as one line of steel. You don't want everyone running at different paces. You might do that when you're finally at the enemy, but when you're going across that field, you want to scare the enemy off with a whole line of those pointy things, those bayonets at the end of the musket.
Okay, shoulder, arms.
So things that can go wrong, which could stop you from firing, is you can have what's called a misfire, is when you pull that trigger and the musket does not go off. So that means that you might be getting sparks, onto the powder. Your powder might also be wet.
Care.
You also hear the phrase
your face.
"keep your powder dry." Comes
your
from
face.
the age of the musket, because black powder
Yeah.
seeps up
Face.
moisture like a sponge, and if it's wet, it will not work. So if it's a very humid day, or it's raining, or it's snowing, you really can't use these muskets. So that's why battles were not really fought when it's raining or when it's snowing. Yes, sir.
Didn't they have 2 lines too?
Yep, they did fight in 2 lines. At the start of the Revolutionary War, they actually fought in 3 lines. First rank would be kneeling down. First rank would be standing, firing above that first rank, and the third rank would be shooting over the shoulders of the second rank. Very quickly into the Revolutionary War, they realized that you didn't need that first rank there to be kneeling. So they went from 3 ranks to 2 ranks, just standing up, shooting over your shoulder. You learn really quickly you want to be in that second rank, because when you're like this, the other person's musket is right here. That's also a reason why these muskets are extremely long. People are like, why such a long weapon? Well, you need to make sure that the end of your musket clears the man in front of it. Because if it had a short barrel, the barrel would end right here, and you're going to get a big explosion in your face. So now the 3rd New York, they're in 2 ranks, and they're going to demonstrate the loading and firing procedure while in those 2 ranks. Yes, sir.
Does the first line crouch?
No, the first line is going to stay standing up like this. See how the back rank is lifting their muskets over the shoulder of the front rank.
Turn, cover.